we built yet another flip-top tool stand.
It lets us put our bandsaw and our drill press in the same place.
It's a 2-for-1 deal. You know, this is the third one of these that we've made, and this is the third time I've made this joke. I'm running out of material. Laugh. Please laugh. We have acquired a bandsaw because we purchased it. However, we have no place to store it.
And we also have our drill press that we've had for a long time, and we discovered when we set them up next to each other that they're essentially twins in terms of height, weight, and structure.
Therefore, we will create a new flip-top table for the twins so that we can use one at a time, because we're probably not going to use these two at the exact same time, and if we do, we won't. We plan for this thing to be about 40 inches tall, because that'll put the base where we either use the drill press or use the bandsaw at around eye level-ish to a little bit lower. To incorporate that, we need the side panels to be 36.5 inches. Well, unfortunately and fortunately for us, we found these boards that are exactly the depth that we need, but they're 36 inches tall. So we're making it a 1/2 inch shorter, because a 1/2 inch doesn't make that much of a difference in terms of height. And thankfully, with our 3 verticals, we literally bought 3 of these, and we're not going to cut them at all. We're just going to cut the base, which works out pretty well. Thanks for tuning in.
The project starts with cutting the base for this monster. The base is what the 3 vertical pieces will be attached to, so we glue and screw the 3 vertical pieces in place, for double integrity. The 4th vertical piece is a 5.5 inch wide board that will form the back of the drawers. It's pocket holed and attached to the sideboards. Then we used some scrap boards of various lengths to make the bottom for the drawers to sit on. These are going to be very simple drawers, so we're just going to have them slide in and out on these things. It doesn't matter if they're full length. Nobody will ever see these. Then we attach the 2nd vertical board to cover the drawers. This board is 36 inches long and will be one of the 2 boards that the tabletop flips from.
Welcome to the next day, as evidenced by the fact that I've changed clothes. Last night, we drilled all the holes, we glued everything, everything's all stiff. However, we need to put pocket screws going up through these shelves. Now, these shelves are super shallow and narrow, which is fine for what we need to do, but it's not super ideal to get a whole screwdriver. Thankfully, we have this angled piece, and it's a tight fit, but it's fine. It's enough for what we need to do. So let's put pocket screws.
And after all that, we attach the 3rd vertical, and you will end up with something like this. Note that we added 2 2-inch strips to the left and right to support the pipes. We'll explain that later.
Now we'll make the parts for the flip-top table itself, because after all, this is why we're here, isn't it?
To do that, we cut 12 1/2-inch thick strips. The width is not important. A 15.5-inch strip is glued to a 12.5-inch strip, which is then glued to a 15.5-inch strip. This gives us an H-shaped piece that we're going to use for the front and back of our table.
The next day.
Okay, so it's all built and ready for the next step, but there's a problem. You see, Hannah and I got so excited talking that we built it wrong. We put the drawers on the left side. The drawers are supposed to go on the right side, so they'll go underneath all this lighting stuff and everything. That was the plan. This is backwards, so I can't use this. So I was going to trash it, but I had a better solution. I called Kevin. This is Kevin. So Kevin is going to build this one for his shop, and I went and I built this. This one has the drawers on the side I need them. So I'm going to build this, and Kevin's going to build this. And so we'll have 2 flip tops for the price of 1.
Later.
I can't be there because I'm on spring break.
So we're gonna have to do this ourselves?
Yeah, she left.
Fine.
The strips we made before Hannah left were the front and back of the table. Now we're going to make the sides and cut 7/8 inch holes in for the pipe. Then we cut our tabletop out of 3/4 inch plywood. The specific dimensions here don't matter because every table is different, but ours is 15 by 17 inches. The strips are all glued in place, and now you can kind of get a feel for how this works. This is the front and back of the table, and these are the 3 strips that are going to hold the pipe that it's going to pivot on. Your specific dimensions will vary based on the tools that you have. When the tilt table glue dries, it's time to cut the hole for the receptacle that's going to go on top. That's right, this table is going to feature receptacles on both sides so we can plug our tools in, leave them plugged in, even though we flip it back and forth. There will be no more of that rerouting the cables every time we flip the table like we have to do now. Then the pipe is cut with the usual fireworks. Always a crowd pleaser here in the shop. We're going to route a wire through this pipe, so Kevin cuts a hole for the wire to come out. Then the hole is drilled in the uprights to support the pipe. And now, with all the parts in place, you can see how the pipe goes through the holes in the tabletop and attaches to the other side. It's all pretty simple really, just a tabletop that pivots on a pipe. The last step on the uprights is to route 4 2-inch long channels that the bolts that hold the tabletop will go into. This will all make sense in a minute. But it's cool, I promise. It'll be really, really cool. Routing generates a lot of dust.
One thing we did, because we've got a wire running through this pipe, is put a pin right here on the side. And we cut slots in this upright. That way it can only turn 180 degrees. Because, well, we don't want to fire. Because fire bad.
Mounting the anti-fire pin is pretty simple. Just mark on the table where you want it to be, flip the table over, mark on the other side where you want it to be, and then route a couple of channels for the pin to fit into. This will keep the table from spinning round and round and kinking up the cord and shorting it out and setting things on fire. We consider this a plus. See how it works? We haven't seen this done anywhere else, so we don't know if it's our idea or not, but we like it. 4 drawers are quickly fabricated using the brad nailer. These drawers are just going to pull right out of their mounts so that you can carry around the shop, so there's no hardware here, just wooden drawers. Very simple, very cheap.
We're done with the initial construction. We've got one with the drawers on the right and one with the drawers on the left.
Now, let's paint.
Just like that. What, you didn't want to see us paint, did you? You know how to paint. We painted.
Now that we're all painted, the countertop is installed over the drawers, and the 4 bolts that hold the tipping table in place are installed. It's just a screw eye with a nylon washer. Each one fits into that slot we made earlier and are held in by a screw. These bolts will pivot in and out to allow the table to flip and will hold it steady when they're bolted down. See them sticking out of those slots that we routed earlier? This is how they hold the table down. With the tabletop secure, the wire is routed into the pipe, out the pipe hole, and into the receptacle, with the second wire being routed to the other receptacle that'll be on the other tabletop. The power line is then inserted into this little slit that we left running down the side for this purpose, and then a small housing is built to go over the edge of the wire. We don't want this wire sticking out where it can get hit by flying debris. And this wire barely moves, so the housing's fine and we can take this lid off if we ever need to access it.
Over here, I'm using these lifting wheel locks. So that way, when all 4 corners are released, it sits flat on the ground.
The wheels on my tool stand are just regular locking caster wheels bolted onto 2x4s that are then bolted and glued onto the bottom of the tool stand. Pretty simple stuff. Then I find yet another use for those atomic dairy cards I had made and install the drawer faces on my drawers. Kevin uses slightly different drawer faces on his, but they work just fine too.
The bandsaw and the drill press are pretty heavy tools, especially when you consider the fact that we're going to have these 40 inches above the floor. You don't want that tipping over. That could ruin your day and delay work on a project, which would be really annoying. So we're going to use some pretty solid hardware to hold these things in place. The inside of the flip table is sealed. We can't get in there to put nuts on bolts and that sort of thing, so we're going to use these. These are called T-nuts or blind nuts, or other names people have for them, but T-nut is a nut that hooks onto a bolt, screws onto a bolt, but it has these flanges here that you hammer into a board. So what you do is you take a piece of wood, this is the same kind of wood we're going to be using for the tops for the work stands, and you drill a hole, in this case a 3/8 inch hole, and you take the T-nut and you just put it in the hole and hammer it in with a hammer, which I've done here. That way, later on, when you are working on this side of the board, you can't get to the nut, it's no problem. It just screws right in because the nut is already in place and can't come out. See? T-nuts, this is how we're going to do it.
The drill press is transferred from its old stand to the new stand and positioned where we need it. Then we mark the spots where these 6 bolts are going to go to hold this very heavy tool down. The drill press is removed and the 3/8 inch holes are drilled for the 6 T-nuts we'll be using. which are then hammered into the reverse sides of those holes we just drilled. We have to do the same thing for the bandsaw on the other side, so the top for that is set up and the bandsaw is put in place and the same traces are made. But you already saw us do it at the drill press, so we're not going to bore you by doing it again. The drill press is put in place and the 6 bolts are put into the T-nuts, just like we did for the bandsaw moments earlier. With all the nuts in place and the tools mounted, look what we can do. This is truly the tallest tool we've ever built here in the shop.
Alright, that's it. I've got the orange tool stand with the drawers on the right, and Kevin's got his white tool stand with the drawers on the left.
Well, I guess I'm going to go home and put my tools on top, and I guess I'm done.
Thanks for the help.
Thank you.
As you can see, it fits right here. It really is a great tool. And
Look.
oh, you're back from spring break.
Yeah, spring break ended 3 weeks ago. This looks really good.
Thanks.
Where's Kevin? I was told Kevin would be here.
Well, thanks to our wonderful patrons who make projects like this and the larger projects possible. You help us do what we do, so many thanks.
Thank you so much for watching. If you liked that video, maybe like the video, comment on it, subscribe, potentially ring the bell so you don't miss an upload. But thank you again. This is super great. We really enjoy anybody who gets to watch these videos. It really helps us so that we can make more things like this.
See you next time.
Goodbye.